Hello and welcome back everyone. Today we're taking a look at the translated Chinese patch notes, and there's some information that wasn't in the English patch notes, so I'm happy to share that with you. First up is the experience optimization, and this is in regard to your gaming experience and not your experience points per se. They're working on a new big version on March 3rd with a series of new PvP and PvE gameplay waiting to be reviewed by adventurers. Well, this is a typo. It is in fact March 30th, which is the date of the next major update. That being said, new PvP and new PvE. Super excited about this. There's more information on this in the bottom, and rather than making you wait for it, I'm just going to jump there now, and I'll come back to the top after that. Kane's Handbook, Episode 1. Buried deep in the ground of Kois, the 100 towers that once kept angels and demons at bay outside the city have reappeared, and they carry ancient magical powers that are bound to lead to strife. Together with your companions, capture it as best you can, and use this magical energy to fight demons. This sounds to me like the tower defense that's been talked about from the data miner. And we're going to have a PvP mode, especially with use of the word strife here. Gather your companions. Sounds like that 20-player tower event. Now, I know what you're thinking. We don't want more PvP until things are balanced. And I just want to reiterate something I've said in the past in other videos, is we don't really know which classes are balanced and which are not. What we know is which classes are balanced in regard to the one battleground we have. Barbarian is an example that I love to use. Barbarians on defense with Undying Rage are basically something you can't get through, right? They're an immovable object on defense. However, Barbarians in Vault are arguably the worst class, whether they're on attack or defense, being Shadow or Immortal. So the Barbarian class itself is in a great place on defense in the battleground and a very poor place in Vault, both of which are PvP game modes. So we don't really know which classes are going to be good, which classes aren't. As more modes get added to the game, we'll start to see if there are trends. Are the same classes always good in all content, and so forth. So before you really get a negative reaction to new PvP, I just want you to consider that. Episode 2, the fishermen who went out to sea did not return, but the waves were getting higher and higher, and the shaking of the ground was violent and frequent, and the survivors who were washed ashore with only half their lives said that there were boats in the sea. There were big ships, there were sea monsters in the big ship. Sea monster. He said that no one could defeat the sea monster that set off the huge waves, and he wanted to ask, can you? This kind of reads perhaps like a new interactive dungeon, similar to Silent Monastery that we got. I think we're going to have a dungeon most likely in Stormpoint, and it's going to have different objectives and things that you interact with along the way, and it'll be a step up from the original dungeons we had at launch. Very excited about both of these, the new game modes. I really wish this information had been in the English patch notes because it just comes off in such a better way. It just feels so much nicer knowing the reason why things are being delayed, and honestly, I'm content. To see this kind of content and the depth of the content that's being added on the 30th, sure, I'm happy to wait. Just would have liked a little more presentation up front. And in that regard, with being up front, I want to show you a link that came on Reddit. And this is a post from Pez Radar, who's the community lead for the game. Basically what this is saying, and it may be difficult for you to read, the hide Helm feature that was coming with the update is actually going to be delayed. And again, I'm okay with this because there's transparency here. We're getting a reason that it's being delayed. It's due to the last minute because we discovered with the feature and a specific set that there's an issue. Great. We have some reasoning, and I think most people agree with me that if you're going to delay something because it was going to break other things in the game, we're happy to allow that. It's okay to delay it rather than break the game. And we've already seen so many things go into the game at certain points and just riddle the game with bugs. So just probably the most positive reaction I can have to this, given that something's being delayed, and I know a lot of people are excited for that feature, myself included. But regardless, bravo for handling it in that manner. So let's go back up to the top here. Optimize the equipment library experience. And this is in regard to the Armory feature. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Basically, you're going to be able to save your legendary essences and your legendary gems in the Armory. That means that when you get a new piece of gear, you can equip just the piece of gear, go back to the Armory, and load that previous essence, or the version of what you were using, rather than having to save 5 Armory loadouts again every time you get a new piece of gear. Optimized for the Uncharted use of Earth Pearls experience. This is talking about the Telluric Pearls, again mentioned yesterday. Once you do the quest for the first time, you'll then have the option to visit the apprentice jeweler and just craft the gem from there. The queuing mechanism of the Immortal Treasury has been optimized. In the event of an invasion, priority is given to matching teams in the queue with the highest order and equal strength to defend. If there are no teams that meet the conditions, they will be paired in order. Immortals no longer be reminded and skipped when they encounter invaders' high strength, and will only be reminded when the intruder's strength is too high. I love this. This is maybe my favorite part of the whole thing. And it's not what the change is about. It's that the system went in fairly recently and a change is being made already. That means that they implemented something, they see that it needs adjustment, and it's already been tweaked in a proactive and timely manner. There you have it. A lot of additional things that weren't in the English patch notes, and I'm happy to share them with you. Feel free to leave any feedback on whether you like the upcoming changes or maybe you don't. Personally, I feel a lot better than I did yesterday when I was covering this topic. Thanks for taking the time to watch a second video, and have a great day.